All right, so my panelists here, thank you so much for joining me, and I'm sure I'm looking forward to getting some great insights from you, maybe hear two sides of the same story, maybe hear some counterpoints to the points that we are trying to make so that this debate becomes more interesting, because we are trying to understand the whole combination and the whole coming together of technology and human. How possible it is, how good is it, are there some flip sides to it, what future trends are we looking forward to? So that's the kind of conversation we are going to have. So I'll start with a question that I have for all of you, and we are talking about the whole digital revolution, digital transformation coming into place, especially in the past 3 years. We've seen that happen very, very majorly. If I may ask you, how have you made the best use of technology here by keeping people at the core of it? And I'd first like to ask my CHROs to answer that, and then the Chief Technology Officers to answer, because I want to understand different perspectives. So Nadiah, how about I start from you here?
I didn't know that I was supposed to start first. Anyway. Okay, that's a really good question. I think the last 2 years we've seen so many changes, and for us in Setia, we're brick and mortar in industry basically, and we're so used to having face-to-face, but I think COVID did the job for us, yes. And I always said this in all my talks. Within 3 weeks, from 18 March last year, 2020, we actually converted 1,600 users to M365. Wow. Now, if that didn't happen, probably now, as we speak, we are still doing phase 3 or phase 4, right? So I think the core of having technology is important, because whilst you are forced, and I use the word forced, to move over, it's important to make sure that you bring along the people. And I just want to share that the one thing that I feel proud of is that we actually started this whole framework of having M365 champions across the company. Because normally what you do is you have, okay, GICT or ICT will do this and HR will facilitate. It just doesn't work, because change management can be quite scary to people. But we're now down to second year. We've seen the success where for each of the department, you have champions, 2-3 champions. And what they do is once the training is done, the champions then carry through it, and not just showing how it's done, but basically sustaining the application of it. So that's just one part of it. But there's also the other part of digital marketing, digital apps that we've kind of like quickly jumped over because our customers are demanding for that. So I think I'll just pause here, because we have this 5 people and we only have 45 minutes. Okay, yeah.
No, but great points there. I think, as you said, that COVID did the job for a lot of HR professionals. I think they'll be thankful to COVID for the transformation that happened overnight. People just upskilled themselves in technology, and they were all ready to go roll. But that's the interesting part. Anjali, what are your views on that?
So in our case, and it's good to hear from Nadiah as well, we are a manufacturing company. We are a Dutch lady. I hope everybody does have Dutch lady. If not you, your children do. So in our case, again, it is an old school organization where the mindset was that we need to meet face to face. We are a factory which is manufacturing. There's a sales force which is on the field. And yes, the first part was to define the ways of working, and that's what we call our ways of working globally as a company in FrieslandCampina, where we said, okay, this is the hybrid setup, and we are stuck to it, which is doing a 2+3, 2 days in the office and 3 days at home. And now, when we set up that norm, you have to set up different systems and processes. So yes, technology is the back end of it, and that's where we set up a performance management mechanism, which was based on Power BI. Analytics was the base of it, of tracking and self-populating tools and accessibility. Along with that, also using conversational tools where we can collaborate as a team, because project-based teams were the norm. So you need to have collaboration tools in place. So that facilitates cross-functional teams to work together, because when people are not there face-to-face, silos tend to be forming.
Exactly. Yeah.
So collaboration tools were also another important part in terms of technology which helped besides Power BI. And yes, we all know about Zoom, Teams, etc., which exists. So that's pretty much a snippet of it.
So people transformation was on the basis of technology, like the catalyst was technology that made people transformation.
Yes, possible. Technology is always a catalyst. First, you have to come with a framework of what you want to achieve.
Yes. Exactly, yeah. Great point. Sumesh, I'd like to come to you next. What are your views on this? How have you seen companies make the best use of technologies without losing the human touch? I'm trying to focus a lot on that since you're an professional IT leader. What are your views on that?
Cool, thank you. I'm neither an IT leader nor an HR leader,
Okay.
so I'm here by chance.
Okay.
So I think if I take a step back to your question, I don't think it's necessarily a conflict or confluence of technology or people. It's always people. It's always people, people first, right? If you look at how an organization thrives, it's not when technology performs at its best, it's when people perform at their best.
Lovely.
Right? And so to enable people to perform at their best, there are many tools that aid in that process, and technology is one of them, right? And so essentially, in our case, we're a people-heavy business. We have 18,000 people, right? And 18,000 people doing what they need to be doing every day. Our role as a leadership team is to make sure that they have everything they need to do their jobs well. And most importantly, they're engaged and happy, right? And sometimes I think way too much, and I know probably I shouldn't be saying this, but way too much emphasis is made on technology. It's not the solution. The solution is creating shining eyes with your people, and technology is a tool in enabling us to get there. That's really how we look at it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting point, I think. People first. People were always the core cause of any transformation that happened. Is that we're trying to say, right, Sumesh? Ravi, what are your views on this? What do you think?
Okay, I'm neither HR or an IT background based on it, but my perspective of looking at it is people again. It's easier for you to say that, you're pushed to a corner whereby you have no choice because of the pandemic and you have to use the technology. But if you do a happiness index to find out exactly whether people are happy or not, there's not much data to show that actually people are really happy because I have no choice. It's bread and butter. I have to get it done. I have to get to do the job done. And that's why I pursue and get it done. But that's where the challenge takes place. How many of you take back home to work? Your mobile phones it doesn't stop until midnight. You have to answer the messages and all these things. Whether that's going to be healthy or not, that's the question that we need to ask ourselves and find the relevant data to find out exactly whether it really fits in the system or not.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, what about you, Sam?
Okay, since I'm from MCMC, I have to say that one of the things that people or organizations are doing due to COVID and due to people-centric is connectivity. Mm-hmm. You just can't operate when your phone has no signal, when your office has really bad internet. Mm-hmm. But moving on to what the other speakers have mentioned, it's about people again, and maybe I can just highlight about the way people work. Mm-hmm. The process that they do every day, and because of COVID as well, everything's expected to be completed yesterday. So therefore, there is this new way of doing things, especially in the technology space where we are talking about things like Agile and DevOps, where you can't have people doing the same way, working the same way all the time. You got to lead them, drive them, to make them learn a new way of working. The tools are just there. They can be subscribed today and used tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But if the way of working is still back to the pre-COVID days, then you haven't really gained any productivity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So either of you, if you could answer this question for me, you did touch upon it. Some best practices, if I may ask. How have technology and people come together for you in your organization? Some examples that if you could share for our audience here to listen to. Anybody who'd like to take the mic here.
I can share about one of the best practice we came. We all hear a lot about Agile. Agile has become a very misused term now. But what we really did is we were looking at a way of working which can support this kind of hybrid environment. And that's when we got into this Agile journey in Dash Lady in about 2020 end. Mm. And so we have set up a whole system around, we call it business. We have a team of 40 senior leaders, not only the top management, but the senior leaders of the organization, mm-hmm. who work basis this Agile framework. So a month-on-month performance review as well as progression is tracked through this Agile framework.
Nice.
So we not only look at the performance and the KPIs, but also what can be an improvement mechanism. Mm-hmm. And what it has brought in, first, it has brought in a setup. So technology is the back end of it because, as I said, it uses Power BI, analytics, etc. But the principle was, yes, we are going to work as cross-functional collaborative team. We were getting people trained on Agile skills. Generally, it's related with software industry, but we adapted it to our own setup. our ways of doing things, and it has been working beautifully well for us. In fact, it has been seen as a best practice by FrieslandCampina globally, and whenever we are sharing outside as well. In our organization, when we look at an engagement survey as well, because of this whole way of working, of having agile competency built, framework set up, and the tool being in place, people feel strongly being a part of the whole business. They feel they are running the business. And what it does, it gives huge visibility to this set of 40 people and the rest of the organization. And people can themselves nominate to be part of different teams, even if it's not related to theirs. So a finance person can be part of, say, best place to work, which is driven by HR, which is a very unique setup. Because, yeah, so that's how we have, this practice has got very strengthened, and it is going from good to great for us.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting in how you can make the best use of the talent that you have. There are certain qualities that can be, interconnected. Cross-functional teams can actually benefit from each other through that. Any other examples of bringing together technology and people and how it has worked for you? Anybody would like to chime in here?
Okay, so maybe I'll just share this. I think when we talk about technology and how it evolves, it's important to look at two parts. One is the structure, and the other one is the content. And I agree with Sham, right? He mentioned that with all that's happening, we just need to change the way we work. So traditionally in Setia, we've always had these two committees, which is CEC, Customer Excellence Committee, which is actually consisting of all the head of sales and marketing, and they meet every month. Because we have 48 projects, and so every month, the head of sales and marketing will come in, and is chaired by an EVP. So HR sits in as well, and sometimes, depending on the topic, actually now it's almost permanent residency with IT as well.
Okay.
Then this is for on the customer side. Then we have TEC, Technical Excellence Committee, which similarly is attended by all the heads of technical, basically the one who heads up technical work. That's traditionally, we've always structured that way. Great. But since COVID, what we've done is we said, look, we really do need to mobilize and change, deploy, redeploy ideas and so on. So in 2020, I think end of 2020, I think 2021, we actually launched design thinking. I know a lot of companies have probably done that before that, but I think for us it was very strategic. We actually identified 3 key areas. So one for our construction industry, because during COVID, the construction bit was actually highly affected because, during MCO, they can't go back and do. And for us in our industry, it will mean extra cost, because if you can't complete the houses and all of you buy houses, you want your houses to be ready on time. For us, as a developer, if it's not completed within time, we have to pay LED, late, payment and so on. So it's high cost.
Yeah.
So we had one to look at our construction project, looking at IBS. So for some of you, IBS is the Integrated Building Scheme or project. And then we have one that is actually looking at the customer side, and the other one for TEC. Just looking at how do we mobilize the different ideas that we have, and it was about, for one team, one project is about 25 people, and it came out with the different streams. So you had people streams, you had the customer, we had even, for example, the technical side, looking at how do we redesign the way we work with our consultants and so on. Long story short, I think we as an organization must continuously relook and revisit the way we do things.
Okay.
I think for us, I call it the sins of being number one, because when you're number one, you have people always looking out through your window, trying to poach your talent, because it's ready training. Number two, sometimes, and I don't mean it across the board, sometimes it gets into the head and we forget to look outside because we think we've done well. And thirdly, we tend to, how do you say, ride on the success that we already have. And, when you're number one, sometimes we have to always remind ourselves that as we drive on the highway, everyone else is trying to take over you. So it's a mindset game that we have to continuously have, the growth mindset.
Yes,
so that 3 projects that we had, they pitched their solutioning, and that cuts across all teams. So there were cross-functional teams, and the solutions became a company-wide solutions.
Yeah.
And this year, what we did was, we had a few more projects and we trained up all our managers so that everyone speaks the same language. So change management had to be done in phases so that you don't shake the whole company.
Yeah, a very interesting practice. Thanks for sharing that, Nadiah. Coming to the next big elephant in the room, the whole hybrid workplace that we are talking about, right? Some people are very pro-hybrid workplaces. Some people are very pro-flexibility, while there are some leaders who are now saying that, no, let's come back to office now. Fine, it's done. The pandemic is kind of over. So it brought about certain challenges. There's technology to enable, empower. There was a lot of things that were new practices and initiatives that were put forward, but there were challenges too. So is there any one of you would like to highlight some challenges that came along with the hybrid world of working when it came, for any of you, if you'd like to share? So yeah, Sumesh is smiling already, lots of them.
I mean, look, this is one of those questions where I don't see how you can answer other than saying, yeah, we support a hybrid environment. I mean, you can't really come to this forum and say, yeah, we've called everyone back to the office. Nor can you say everyone's working from home. I mean, it seems to be the logical answer.
Yeah.
In our organization, you can't really have a hybrid. I can't ask a courier to work from home. He can't do his job. So, we have 12,000 people who come into office every day to do their jobs. And that's because the nature of their jobs is such. And for the others, yes, we have a hybrid setup, but I think it's too early to answer whether it's going to work, whether it'll continue working, etc. 2 years back, no one thought they were going to go fully remote or hybrid even. So
Exactly.
I think it's too early to answer that. I think every organization will go through their own journey and figure out who they are and who they want to be and whether it's working for them. And I don't think it's a single approach.
But how about challenges in bringing technology and people together in a hybrid setup?
So I didn't answer the best practice because we don't have a best practice.
Yeah.
So we're coming from 220 years of history, and only on Monday we will launch for the first time ever a full suite of HRMS solutions. So we're coming from a very legacy organization. So
Wow.
I don't really have a best practice, and I'll be lying if I said I do.
Yeah.
So there were all the initial challenges with the first lockdown and having people come online, and like any organization, you have challenges from laptops to internet connection to productivity solutions, and you just need to figure it out. It was a challenge, and we figured it out, as did, I'm sure, every organization.
Absolutely, yeah. Great. Any other points, Ravi, you want to add something, please?
I mean, adding on to what it works, because the reason is I service about 35 countries, and I've got clients across globally. I've got clients in a different environment they come from. And one of the things that I realized from my clients is every client is different. And every client has different solutions then. One solution will work for them, may not work for another organization. And so and when you put in new solutions inside, you're not even sure that solution is going to work for me. You really don't know. And it's 2 tests of time, and you gain the kind of vision. But over the years, what we have realized the last 2.5 years is that technology is there, but the gap that we see is the human element. The human, are they changing at the speed that the technology is moving? Whether we are in syncing the gap, there seems to be a gap in that particular area.
All right.
That's what we see from the research that we have done.
Great points. Yes,
Yeah, so I just chime in again. I suppose to echo what I started to mention just now, which is the way people work.
Yeah.
It's not about technology, because technology is there to enable people to work, but it's the way people work. So to take it one step further on how technology and people take it forward is to measure everything. You've got to measure how things are before certain technology comes in, and then you've got to measure how things become after certain technology has come in.
Nice.
This is key because the cost of technology is just on a rising scale.
Yeah.
And then you also find that everybody is now asking for IT to actually come in, which you will then find that there are some people in your organization, in your department or unit, they are not IT, but they are techies, which in some way are better than IT, because they are there to actually solve many other things.
Yeah.
So you find that these techies, they are typically young ones, 25 to 30-year-old, who are there, giving a helping hand on every single thing that he or she can help. This increases the rate of productivity. So as a C level, I got to always maintain or defend when technology investment is being made. And one way that I defend is by showing how people have increased productivity by measuring how many hours a certain task were done before,
Okay.
and how many hours has that task being reduced in number of hours, steps, or increase in the quality of products and services.
Yeah, so I do agree. It's about the impact, right? We have to show the impact. What impact has any of your practice had? Yeah, Nadiah, you want to add something there?
I was just going to say something to be provocative about the
Yeah,
whole thing.
please.
I mean, obviously I'm from HR and I do change management. I have this thing called the 5 T's. Okay, first T is tools. Second one, we talked about trust. The third one is about tenacious. Fourth, teamwork, and the last one, thoughtfulness.
Nice.
And I actually, I've had many discussions and debates with leaders and across the company when you want to drive change. And I think the mother of all change has been the last 2 years, right? I mean, nobody had expected the pandemic. I feel that as Shah was saying, you have to measure this, and it's all good, yeah? You can measure all this. But I think the more importantly is what Sumesh, right? Yeah, Sumesh was saying about people. Many times organizations say, yes, we've got to do this, but they don't want to invest because they say, oh, it's expensive. Oh, this is so high. But seriously, it's about, penny wise, pound foolish, right? If you want to invest and you want to have a flat organization, in order for you to move from here to there, there's this bridge that you have to cross. And I always tell my CEO and my COO or EVPs, I say, great, we want to go there. But there is this transition phase that we have to care and think about our people. Because whilst you're transiting, let's say, for example, if you're migrating from an old system to a new system, my God, my team was working 16 hours, 18 hours over MCO because we were migrating, because you're running parallel with the old system, you got to do the UAT test, you got to do all kinds of whatever, processes and so on. And at the same time, you're running your business as usual. So what happens is that sometimes management says, we need to cut headcounts, we need to freeze hiring. I'm all for it, but let's think about how is it landing on our people. So if we want to go there, sometimes you have to invest in something, invest in the tools, and you probably have to spend, and then you come to a situation where it kind of plateaus, then you reap the benefits. Trust. We talked about working from home and everything else. I'm not one who likes to measure everything that my people do. I mean, of course, I know who are the ones who are not doing the work, and for me, if the person is not doing the work, just confront that person. But I agree, for some of the jobs, you need to have that measurement. But there lies the issue and the debate, because like a company like ours, a site supervisor can't be building homes at home while working from home. So in their mind, they say, hey, you guys are also not doing anything, because the tea ladies and the chauffeurs and all that, they're not doing anything. It's not their fault. But I say, yeah, but who pays the salary, right? So everyone else, the support function, all of you would agree, the support functions are the one who spend the most hours in MCO. So I find that we're missing a point, that sometimes we don't communicate to all, because we don't blame our employees. They see from their pocket of perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was an epiphany when one of my staff said, hey, the guys on the site say, hey, so nice, you guys are not doing anything, right? I mean, you must be free like us. Say, no. So communication. But having the trust to be able to think that if we communicate well enough, our people will have and understand the intent of the company. Tenacious. Why I say tenacious? Because in our effort to drive change, we say, oh, let's do this, technology, blah, 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 do this. I see it's real in an organization like mine who have people who've been there for the last 26, 30 years, and they're happy with the company. But it's a multi-generational thing, and so some people takes change at a different speed. So I always tell my team, whilst we want to bring that digital transformation, I had this conversation with one of my team members when we ran a project. So when we started having M365, everything else goes into M365, even the communications. And I said, where's that invitation? Oh, it's M365. But when we first started, not everybody got used to seeing it there. So we have to run parallel. And to be tenacious and patient about it.
Great.
Teamwork, I think, is important to have the right narratives and having the right tone. I have had real situations in companies where, you know, some people are much smarter and they'll say, how many years have you done this and you're still asking this question? Oh my God, you know, I mean, that's just so not on, isn't it? Can you imagine you saying that to someone else, and how does that make that other person feel?
True.
And this happens all the time.
Yeah.
I think we need to be inclusive in our style and understand that some people just learn differently, and how do we facilitate that change?
Yeah.
And that comes with genuine care and authenticity in the intent of bringing everybody along.
True.
And lastly, thoughtfulness. I think that thoughtfulness had to be, we have to consider every element and make sure that change is something that is owned by everyone and not something that's intimidating. And I'm doing this because I'm going to be worried about me losing my job. So I'm just going to tick the box, and I don't care, this is my KPI. But how is it that the change that I'm making in my area is affecting everyone else, because we are here together?
Great. Great point.
Sorry, I'm
Nadiah.
just so
Yeah.
passionate about this.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So, yeah, Anjali, want to add something? Yeah.
No, I would just like to go back to the question you asked
Yeah.
about hybrid.
Yeah.
So we need to understand, I think the problem sometimes with HR is we need to work like marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing looks at consumer insights. Can we look at employee insights?
Absolutely.
And prospective employee insights. So for a manufacturing company, exactly like Nadiah was sharing, Sumesh was sharing, for us, it's a question of we have a mixed workforce.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to see that the people we want to attract and keep, what is the landscape for them?
Mm-hmm.
So if it is in the manufacturing factory, the landscape is that kind of a working environment.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to provide those facilities. But if you're talking about people who are marketing, finance, etc., and even HR, they have options where they can be hybrid.
Yes.
So we don't have a choice. If you want quality talent in the streams, you have to go hybrid.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was a question in our management team, and we said, you don't have a choice. Else you will get substandard workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So that's important, work like marketing sometimes, and
Yeah.
it will help HR to grow better.
Yeah, understood. Great. I have another question, a follow-up to this only. So we are talking about best practices in a hybrid environment. If I may ask each one of you to tell me one practice that you should keep or adopt, and one practice that you should definitely let go of. So Sumesh, let's start from you.
Why me? Okay. I think, so we have this, we're going through a very large transformation, yeah? So we're a highly legacy organization,
Yes.
you know, with antiquated practices, and we're sort of trying to come into the 21st century. So our challenges are slightly different to what a startup would go through, what an established multinational would go through. But I think in terms of keeping what we need to do, so when I joined about a year and something ago, one of the things we did was go around all the states, but we were just putting together our transformation program. And I was up in, I think it was Kedah, and I was talking to a postman, yeah? And I was telling him, you know, all about our transformation journey, and through a translator, he actually said, but I don't want to transform. I'm very happy doing what I want, what I'm doing. And you have to recognize that transformation doesn't have to apply to everyone, right? Because in the minds of a leadership team, the organization has to transform, yes, but that doesn't mean people have to transform all the time. Yeah?
That's
A
good.
postman who's done the job for 22 years is very happy doing what he's doing. And he enjoys doing what he's doing. He loves waking up in the morning and coming up to work. And that's important to recognize. Yeah? And it's not a broad paintbrush job that you, and this was even more solidified when we did our first employee insights study, and we had a 80% engagement rate, and even more so in the front line, it was close to 90%.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, we can talk about tech till the cows come back home, but it's not going to change, because in the front line, when you have people doing what they do, it's far more important to keep people engaged and keep creating those shining eyes. I've never heard of a single person across how many ever years that I worked in, how many ever countries that I worked, who said, I'm quitting this organization because I don't like its systems. Yeah? I've never heard anyone say that. I've never heard anyone say, I'm quitting because I don't like my HRMS. I've never heard anyone say, I'm quitting because I don't like my CRM tool.
Yeah.
They don't quit because of systems or technology. They quit because of leaders, because of people.
Absolutely,
Yeah?
absolutely.
So how do you create a great set of leaders who create engaged people in return? That's something that I think for the most part, we have some amazing leaders in our organization who create shining eyes, and that's something we want to keep. What I want to eliminate anything that creates bureaucracy and takes time. Right?
Absolutely.
And that in our organization is something I come across every 10 minutes. So it's a long journey for me. But essentially, that's something you should bust because you have to walk the talk. You can't say I'm transforming this organization without people evidencing the transformation every day.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
Great,
yeah.
great point, Sumesh. Thank you.
Okay, so for me, I think what we need to keep is the culture that we have. I think of teamwork, because that's the key DNA. I mean, it's not by accident that we actually have been winning 14 times, the Edge #1 property developer, 11 times Best Employer Award. It's hard work, I can tell you, because, before I joined Setia, I thought, is that real? Now joining, it's hard work, yeah? I think we need to keep that, because the culture of working together, the culture of execution excellence is important. What I think we need to get out of is hierarchy. And in Setia, I'm not saying that we have high hierarchy. It's not so much of power, maybe in some pockets probably, but hierarchy respect is okay. But what I mean is that when we get rid of hierarchy means you have, I very much prefer to have an open concept. Currently, we have rooms for GMs, and sometimes I get, GMs or divisional GMs when I say, Nadiah, I've got to have a bigger room and all that. I mean, I think that's nonsense, seriously, because I think it creates that silo that you mentioned. I used to work for AirAsia, and all we did was we sit in this table, like a dining table, 6 of us, and I'm the HR director, and the rest could be an executive or manager. And we only have our laptop, and it's much better. Fast communication and so on. One thing I also noticed that no one's going to waste their time playing Facebook or anything else because someone sits next to you can see what you're doing, right? Okay. Sometimes I wonder people who sit in their room, what do they do? I call it in Malay, we call it rakyat jelata, as in the normal common people coming to tell me, Nadiah, why do I see some of the GMs closing doors? And I go and say, hey, I mean, unfortunately, HR, we're supposed to be the custodian of the culture. Yeah. Okay. and I asked, he said, COVID. But I said, God, COVID, you sit in the small room. But these are symbols. So I think symbols are important.
Absolutely.
So if we talked about open, transparent, we have to live it. And I honestly think with the future trends of work and so on, we should have open concept, more vibrant, more connectivity, more discussion, open discussion.
True.
We just want to come to work and get it done and have, energizing kind of sessions. Let's do away with all these rooms and.
All right, great. Thanks, Nadiah. Yes, Ravi, how about you?
My organization, we are very small compared to, we're about 261, and we started about 1988, we started the company. And from day one, it's all contract employees. Every single person is contract employees, and we work from anywhere. Mm-hmm. So we were used to, COVID when it came in was just normal, just another ordinary day of working.
Yes.
So nothing changes for us. But over the years, I've realized that, when you have human and technology collaboration, technology is a thing. Don't let the thing control you.
Lovely. Great, thank you. That's a great point, Ravi. Yes, Anjali.
I think not only from my current experience, but my previous experience as well, what I believe we need to keep is hiring people for potential and learning agility, rather than for years of experience and credentials.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen with the changing world and all that happening with COVID, recession coming, not coming, in state of uncertainty, people who have learning agility and potential are the ones who turn around the business.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The thing which we need to do away with the whole concept of job description and role clarity. because it's quite bugging because, every time there are people who are of a very fixed mindset.
Yeah.
And then there's this discussion goes around on, oh, but this is not there in my description, but that's not will help you survive, neither the company.
Yeah.
So we need to allow job crafting to be the new way of working where people define what they are going to do and what's the value for it.
Yeah, that's where agility will play a great role, right? Yeah, great points. Yes, Sam, over to you.
I suppose one thing that we can move away from is to move away from printers. We still have printers at our offices, some floors, and
Yeah.
I suppose if you can try to move away from using those, that would be a good start. What should we keep? Mobile first, or in other words, working anywhere.
Yes.
That one we should keep, because I feel that now, due to COVID and many other scenarios, we have learned to be more agile, more mobile, more trustworthy of each other,
Yes.
and we can work anywhere.
Lovely, thank you. My final concluding question, and one line from each one of you, and this is going to be about the future. I want to hear one emerging future trend that you think will be the highlight going forward when it comes to human and technology collaboration. So now I'll start from you, Sam, because I keep going to Sumesh first.
Thank you. The foundation is Web 3.0, which has created things like metaverse.
Okay, lovely, great. Anjali, what about you?
I think it will be IR 4.0. We are building a factory in NexTech which is on IR 4.0. So yeah, that's for me.
Yeah, all right. Ravi?
Convergence of AI and human, that's where they're moving forward. Sorry?
Yeah.
If it's IR 5.0.
Yes, lovely. Yes, Nadiah?
I think it's balancing capitalistic gains and human development.
Okay, lovely. Yes, Sumesh?
I don't really have a clever answer for you. I think, honestly, it's a very difficult question because I just don't think you can forecast the future.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
and I know you asked for a one-line answer. I'm really sorry. But hello. I think fundamentally, I think newer generations are changing the conventional thinking, right?
Absolutely.
And I think as more younger people are coming into the workforce, they will dictate what the future will look like, not leadership, right? And I think whatever conditions they seem to require, I think over a period of time that will become the norm. And that could be with technology, but it could just as equally be with human 1.0, right? Which is let's all learn how to be humans first before we start substituting technology. So it's a very complex answer. I'm sorry, I didn't give you a straight answer.
No, but that's... Yeah, exactly. No, but on that note, thank you so much to each of our panelists for joining us for this panel discussion. It was a very large panel, but such nice, beautiful perspective that came out, and we did manage to keep it under time also. What I'd like to say in the end is that, yes, technology is going to be the enabler, the catalyst for all the transformation that is happening across, but humanity, having a human touch is going to be at the core of it. So thank you so much once again. Let's have a huge round of applause for our panelists, everyone.